Welcome to day one. I'm really excited you're here. You're going to walk away at the end of this lesson with your very first song. And in addition to that, you're going to walk away with some really helpful information that I was grateful to have when I was first starting to learn guitar. We're going to dedicate day one to getting all the essential stuff out of the way and under your fingers. As far as the material we're covering just on day one, this is the material that all my students have found essential and very helpful on their journeys that have since lasted them years, decades even. So what I want you to do is commit to making it through day one, knowing that this is going to leave you better than when it found you as an aspiring player. So let's get started. All right, to get day one started, we're going to jump right into the anatomy of the guitar. Let's look at the body. So over here at the body, the first thing that stands out to us is going to be this sound hole. Now that's where all the sound is emanating from. You're going to see me picking and strumming right above that part of the body of the guitar. It's also worth noting this part right here, the bridge. You're going to see the strings coming out from these holes in the bridge that are then pushed down on using these bridge pins. In addition to that, we also have this white saddle that the strings sit right on top. As we move from my right to my left, you're going to see this long neck containing the fretboard and these metal frets that divide sections into different pitches. As we move further to the left, you're going to see the headstock or the head of the guitar with tuning pegs on either side of the head here that are going to help us determine what the right tension is with the string so that we get the right tuning and pitch. So that's a really good start for what you need to know when it comes to the anatomy of this instrument. Now, one of the most important things we can identify when we have a brand new instrument like this is how many strings there are. Now, you want to know that there are 6 strings on your guitar, and we can refer to them by their number name: 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That may feel a little backwards. The first string that we come in contact with is actually our 6th string. But what's more important to know is the letter names associated with each of these strings, the note names. That's going to be E, A, D, G, B, and E. Did you notice that 2 of those strings share the same letter name? You have the low E and the high E. You might be thinking, well, this seems to be higher than this, but we're not talking in terms of proximity. We're referring to pitch. So here you have the low E, and then here you have the high E. So you're going to notice that we refer quite often to the strings being up here, even though it might look like they're down here. These are the top strings, and these are your bottom strings. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Also referred to as E, A, D, G, B, and your high E string. Okay, so 2 sentences that come to mind that should be helpful in reminding you the name of these strings. Okay, here we go. We've got eat a darn good breakfast every day. Eat a darn good breakfast every day. E-A-D-G-B-E. Another one. We've got, let's see here. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. E-A-D-G-B. So next up, we want to take a moment to talk about tuning these strings to the correct pitch. So when it comes to tuning your guitar, there are all different methods. You can go ahead and use apps on your phone. You can go ahead and use pedals, any type of hardware. Today, I'm going to use a headstock tuner, and all I'm trying to do is tune the string to its appropriate letter or pitch. So I'm going to intentionally go to the tuning peg here at the headstock, and I'm going to pull it toward me, or clockwise, to loosen it so that it's off pitch. A moment ago it was in tune. But now as I go ahead and pick that low E string, you're going to see that it's coming up as a D sharp, which means it's a little too low. Let me turn that up until it gets into an E, and now I just want to get it to the center of that pitch. Once you've made it to the center of your tuner, you know that you're in tune. You're going to give this same treatment to the A and D strings as well, but by the time we get to this side of the tuning pegs, we're going to go ahead and turn the opposite direction in order to bring up the pitch, and we're going to go counterclockwise to loosen the strings and bring down the pitch. So for instance, if we trace the high E string all the way over here to this tuning peg, I'll intentionally tune it down, and you'll see as the E pops up here on our headstock tuner, it's below center of being in tune. Now as I tune it clockwise on this side, to raise the pitch, I focus on bringing it directly into the center until we're in tune. And you can give this same treatment to each one of the strings on this side as well. If I were to strum a chord to double check everything, we'd hear that we're in tune. So before we jump into playing some notes on this fretboard and strumming some chords, I want to take a moment to talk about holding a pick. Now, some great players, some of my favorite players, decide to not use a pick, and we'll even talk about playing with finger picking and fingerstyle at the very last day of this course. But as we get started, it's really important for you to know how to use a pick. So we're just going to focus on using 2 fingers whenever we hold the pick. That's our thumb and our index finger. Use the base of your thumb and then the side, maybe a little bit of the face, but primarily the side of your index finger to hold the pick. Now I want to start making contact with the tips of our fingers to certain notes on the fretboard. This is a great exercise I still use to this day, just at different speeds. That is a great warm-up, and it's a great introduction to you getting used to performing notes on your fretboard. What I want to do is identify the names of your fingers on your fretting hand. So you'll hear me refer to them as your index, middle, ring, and pinky, but we'll also refer to them as your first, second, third, and fourth fingers. Let's practice delegating some directions here as I tell you to take your index finger or your first finger to the low E string's first fret. What we did there was we took the tip of our index finger and placed it just next to the fret located at the low E string. From there, I want to move up the neck, which is going to be in this direction, and I want to use my second finger to do so. That's going up 1 fret, also referred to as a half step, from the first fret to the second fret, using our second finger. From there, I want to go up another half step using my ring finger, and another half step using my fourth finger. Taking stock of that movement, we put our first finger on the first fret of the low E, and we picked just that string. We took our middle finger, or second finger, to the second fret of that same string, followed by our ring finger, our third finger, to the third fret of the low E string, and finally our fourth finger. On our non-dominant hand, this is our weakest finger, so this is a really good opportunity to build some strength here. The pinky is going to go to the fourth fret, and we're going to pick it just like that. Now, when it comes to fret hand technique, there are 3 protocols I want you to be mindful of. Remember how I described this as the neck? Well, at the center of the neck, we want our thumb to be situated. We'll make exceptions, but mostly you want this to be your default. Thumb is right in the center of the neck. Your wrist is dropped so that when we're playing frets, we're not having a flat finger like this, but like this. And often you'll notice that our elbow is tucked into our stomach. So again, as I go 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm fretting on the tipmost part of my finger. My fingers are arched, my wrist is dropped, and my thumb isn't sneaking over here to say hello. It's at the center of the neck like this. So one more time on the low E string, we're going to navigate the first, second, third, and fourth frets using our index, middle, ring, and pinky finger. Check it out. As simple as that may seem conceptually, that's a lot to take in at first. Let's go ahead and apply that to the next string. Same idea, bring your index finger to the first fret, middle finger to the second fret, ring finger up a half step to the third fret, and your pinky to the fourth fret of the A string. Now notice you don't have to keep your hand in one position the whole time. You can have these little micro movements as you get used to reaching across the frets using these different fingers of your fretting hand. Let's take it to the D string, our fourth string. Same idea, first finger, first fret, second finger, second fret, third finger, third fret, and your fourth finger to the fourth fret. Take your time with this one. There we go. All right, we're going to continue to go up the strings. Take your index finger again to the G string's first fret, middle finger, second fret of the G, ring finger, third fret of the G, and your pinky here, let's strengthen that guy, fourth fret of the G string. Now as we move up to the B string, let's go ahead and reinforce our form here. Thumb, center of the neck right here. Wrist is dropped. We are using the tips of our fingers to fret. Let's go ahead and take our index finger, first fret of the B string, second finger, middle finger, second fret of that same string. Moving up the neck a half step, one fret higher, third finger, third fret. And strengthening our pinky right here, fourth finger, fourth fret of the B string. All right, let's go ahead and go up one more string. This is our first string, our high E string. First finger, first fret. Second finger, second fret. Third finger, third fret. and pinky at the 4th fret of your 1st string. So that's a great exercise. Now we just did something called position playing. We played in 1st position where we went up from the 1st to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fret of all 6 strings. If I had you do this in 2nd position, you would just shift everything 1 fret to your right, and you would go from the 2nd to the 3rd to the 4th to the 5th on each string. You could try that in 3rd position or 4th position or even 5th position where you're going from the 5th to the 6th to the 7th to the 8th fret. This is a great warm-up exercise that I encourage you to try from the 1st fret, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th position. And that's just a great way of getting these fingers comfortable with interacting on the fretboard. So take your time with that, but use that as a really good go-to warm-up. Now that we've talked about playing notes, let's check out chords. Now chords are defined as 3 or more notes played at the same time. Sometimes we refer to 2 or more notes played at the same time when we talk about chords like power chords, which we'll get to later in the course. But for now, we're going to introduce you to your very first chords. They're 1-fingered chords that are featured on the top 3 strings. We're only going to strum the G, B, and high E strings for these chords, beginning with our ring finger placed at the 3rd fret of our high E string. If you keep that finger right there and strum from your G string down, that is our 1-fingered G chord. Try that with me. Take your ring finger to the 3rd fret of your high E string. Hold it there, apply a lot of pressure, and strum down. Sometimes as we're building these chord shapes, we can get a little frustrated and we think we need to strum really hard. Well, strum light, but fret hard. Start building these calluses at the tips of your fingers, and it's going to become a lot easier. Again, one more time, this is our 1-fingered G chord strum from the G string down. If you're already there, let's go ahead and try strumming that with 4 quarter note rhythms like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving on to our next 1-finger chord, we're going to go ahead and check out the 1-fingered C chord. This time I want you to take your 1st finger or your index finger to the 1st fret of your B string. And it's really important we put in good form with our fretting hand here, because as we strum this from the G string down, we want that high E string to also ring out. And if we're fretting too flat like this, well, we'll hear it mute. Now that's normal, don't be hard on yourself as you're learning this, but do your best to arch your fingers and get the tipmost part of your finger to fret that 1st fret of the B string. Strumming from the G string down, you have the C chord. Hold that shape. Let's try strumming that for 4 quarter note rhythms. And all I mean by that is as I count 1, 2, 3, 4, we are aligning those numbers with these strums. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your C chord. As we conclude this lesson, we have arrived to our first song. We call this song Benchmark, and we are putting these chords that we've just learned to great use. We're actually going to start with an open chord that doesn't feature any fretting. It's going to be the open G string, the open B, and your open high E string. Now, as we strum these strings together, I want you to play 4 quarter note beats, and it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every time I say a number, I'm aligning a strum with that count. And we're going to situate that into a bar. Now, a bar consists of 4 beats, so you're going to play this for 1 bar or for 4 strums like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. You may notice my fret hand eagerly waiting to get to the next chord, which is your G chord. Take the ring finger to the 3rd fret of your high E string and strum that down from the G string for the same amount of time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're 2 bars in. We've played this version of an E minor chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our 1-fingered G chord from the G string down. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're then going to shift over to the C chord, so take your 1st finger to the 1st fret of your B string and strum that for twice the length. 8 strums for a total of 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. That is a progression, a sequence of chords that we order in a very specific way. In this instance, we've played this version of an E minor chord that just consists of 3 open strings for 1 measure, or bar, and then we've moved to this G chord for 1 measure, or 1 bar, and then we're going to be playing that C chord for 2 measures, or 2 bars. Then we're just going to go ahead and repeat that another 3 times. So the song Benchmark is going to consist of this progression played 4 consecutive times, and then we're going to end on this open chord that we started with and let that ring out. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this to a tempo. Feel free to try playing along, but more than anything, this is something I want you to feel comfortable as your homework to play along with over the course of the day, not necessarily bound to any tempo or speed. All right, let's get into it. With our pick hovering over the G string, I'll count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the G chord. 2, 3, 4 to the C chord. 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take it back to the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ring finger third fret of the high E string. 3, 4. And your C chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third time. To the G. To the C. 3, 4. Back to the top. Here's our fourth and final time. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more bar of this one-fingered C chord. 3, 4. Play your first chord. Well, congrats on completing day 1. A lot of information thrown at you. If there's just a few things to focus on, I would commit to memory how many strings there are and the names of the strings. I'd also get used to navigating those frets using these very specific fingers. Be mindful of the technique we're using with our fret hand as we do that. And also, more than anything, let's really get these chords under our fingers, because tomorrow it's all about chords. And we're talking about full versions of the chords that we've learned today, along with a handful of others. So take your time with this, have fun, and we'll see you for more tomorrow.